Hello and welcome back to another weekly review of a TV episode. This is Servant Season 2, Episode 4, titled 2 O'Clock. And this was directed by M. Night himself, which is very exciting. I think you can always kind of tell when it's a little bit more his style, being he's very particular with certain shots and certain ways he likes to storyboard things. So if you remember last week with the pizza episode, we left off with Dorothy commanding the husband, his little assistant there, to she had poisoned the pizza that Leanne had ate so that she could kidnap her and take her back to their house. So now Leanne is a prisoner in their house, and Dorothy's using some very aggressive tactics to try to get the information of where is Jericho. Is essentially her whole thing. So Dorothy is again in a very psychotic mindset. And
I wouldn't say again. She's never left Looney Town.
Yeah, she's never left.
She's in Looney Town and she's the mayor, and it's just gotten even worse.
Yeah, it's gotten worse. And this episode was, I think, a little darker in tone. They started to get a little more. And the thing is, this whole show, we've kind of talked about this in earlier reviews. It's got supernatural elements, but to this point, nothing has stood out to be like, oh, it's a demon, or oh, it's a ghost or something.
Yeah,
it just feels like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think the show, it's so unique is that it showcases the evil of humanity and the evil of what we as people can do to each other in our worst, situations. And being this is a family struggling with the death of a baby, and now a baby brought back into their life and confusing it for their own child. And now this has been taken away again. It definitely has affected, all three of them to the point of really bad things. Yeah. And it's just, first off, I want to compliment M. Night for this episode for some of these shots. I think what's so cool about the show is they take these really interesting camera uses to make you have to really look at everything. It's not just the actors. You're trying to look at all the house, and this house is already creepy. It's very dark in parts, lit in other areas.
Yeah, and even during the day and night shots, it's all very similarly lit. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is.
I loved there was a shot of the husband and the brother Julian from overhead as they were sharing some wine, and they were just talking, and they're always kind of arguing anyway, but it was all from on top of their head. It was not like face to face. That was already a cool angle. And there's a panning shot that we've seen it quite a few times in the first season and now the second season, but it's just so cool. And you see this shot that the scene is Dorothy and the husband talking, but the shot starts like them not in frame and just keeps going and does not stop at a steady pace as they're talking, just doing the scene. And it's like, it's eerie, like it's unsettling. You're like, you usually want to focus on something, but the show is forcing you to kind of look at everything in the house, because I do think there's specific props and specific set pieces that have been put there for a reason. And we get a couple of that in this episode when we see where Leanne's being kept. This was, I thought, pretty creepy, Taylor. The whole, like, her room is like it looks like some 1920s fashion closet. I mean, it's a pretty big space, at least, but like has all these like racks of clothing, and there's this like mannequin doll that has, it's like a you would see like in a fashion store, just like chilling there. I was like, who owns that? Why would you own that?
Every time they go back, like to show the passage of time, it's always changing. Like the mannequin always got a different outfit on because Leanne's like adapting her room to herself, and so it's always like different. And you see further as the insanity and the psychoticness of Dorothy's character goes, Leanne, the room starts kind of closing in on her more. Like she kind of builds up physical barriers and stuff as she's literally terrified. Because we don't know still don't know, again, what baby that was, how it came to lives, who has the baby. and what her role was with that baby. So she's like, I can't tell you, I can't do this. But she, knowing Leanne, she just knows this person is unstable, but nobody wants to get her help. Because the whole
Hmm.
premise, the whole idea is like, first of all, the baby wasn't yours. You never dealt with the death of your own son.
Yes.
And she still hasn't come to grips with that at all because no one has physically like said to her. And her husband is always tiptoeing around. And I love his in this whole thing. It's like it's a very interesting thing where she says, "Oh, these tactics we talk about." She goes to these serious tactics. Oh, I'm a journalism, so I know, when you're trying to break a drug addict or something like that. But in a way, though, even though she's trying to use these tactics on Leanne, her husband, he is becoming like the enabler, like
Hmm.
giving her excuses. Oh, she's not a bad person, and so that Dorothy is almost like the drug addict. She's addicted to this, this craving to have the stability in her life, and that the baby, the doll, whatever is her drug of choice that she
Hmm.
can't let go. And then she starts becoming very physical with Leanne as it progresses the episode. I was really like, "Whoa, this is
Yeah,
crazy."
the 2 o'clock refers to 2 a.m. And there's a few scenes where right on the dot 2 a.m. Dorothy comes barging into
And she's like,
Leanne's room and physically beats her or scratches her or attacks her to try. She's trying to, waterboard her in a way to get information. She's like, "Where's Jericho? Tell me." And Leanne, of course, just is taking it and being this poor prisoner. And we're even seeing the husband be like, "This is insane. Like, you can't be doing this." I'd like to. There was the one scene where it's always been kind of adorable in a way, but the husband's been bringing in Leanne like really good food. Again, he is a very awesome chef, so he's been cooking for her this like kind of neat food to like cheer her up a bit and lighten the situation. And at one point, he's doing this in a way to try to butter up to her to be like, "Can you just tell me where it is, and this will all be over?" And at one point, he asked her, "Where's Jericho?" And she straight up was like, "Jericho's dead."
"Yeah,
And it was like very like, yeah, the fact that this family, they're so intrigued about this fake baby doll into what was a real baby, which is not their baby, that they've kind of all been blinded to the fact that like, yeah, they have not dealt with the death of this child, and they're still so obsessed with finding this new child." And she just point blank was like, "That baby's dead. Like, move on."
Well, it's like
And
Dorothy's gone down the rabbit hole, and everyone continues to go down with her. Even her brother, her husband, her friend.
well, probably I would say they they kind of need to, because she's become this really scary figure. There was a great scene in this closet room that she has to live in, Leanne. There's this giant oval mirror, old fashioned oval mirror. And Leanne was like sitting down, and Dorothy was over here, over her shoulder. And it was the first time I kind of put this together. It's a very Snow White allegory to me,
Mhm.
in that Dorothy is like the evil, stepmother to Leanne, and Leanne being this beautiful, fair young maiden,
Or
very,
even Cinder,
yeah,
or even Cinderella a little
or even
bit.
Cinderella. It
Yeah.
has a little bit of that fairy tale fable vibe, because I was like, "Oh, this is giving me like Snow White vibes." Like, even though it's not, you know, there was maybe some of the slight sexual jealousy in season one. It's more just wanting to find Jericho. But yeah, these attacks are brutal. And also, in previous episodes, we've had that kind of sewage leak in the basement that Julian almost fell into. Well, they had some guys in there to they're trying to fill the pit. They're like, "All right, we're getting work done." Well, it led to this great scene that was very terrifying and I knew, I was like, "Oh, she's going to use the mannequin to try to escape." I like, typical, and I love, again, a really cool shot. Dorothy comes in for her nightly attack, and she thinks Leanne is in her little sleeping bag and lifts it up, and it's the mannequin, like,
You know,
and then
poof,
bam,
hits with a metronome.
right on cue.
Yeah.
Metronome,
Yeah.
right on time. And uh, great. This is one of those great M. Night shots. And
Yeah, we
there's
were talking
moments like
about
this.
this.
You see this in like Signs. You see this in like a lot of his movies, The Village. Uh, this great Leanne's run to the front of the house. She can't get the door open. Of course, it's locked probably a million ways. And you just see the blur in the back of Dorothy's body. So
Yeah.
clearly she's come to. And then she goes up and she comes in frame. And then she knocks Leanne with the metronome. And the first thought I thought was, oh crap, did she kill her? Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
only a little wood metal thing, but
We've
like
escalated
on
from
the head.
kidnapping to murder. So
Yeah. And then the husband's like looking around, being like, where is she? And this great shot of seeing Dorothy out by the back patio door
covered in
entrance,
dirt.
just covered in dirt, her whole hand, body. And he's like, oh crap, she tried to bury her. So he
Yeah.
goes down to the basement and he's able to get Leanne before
And of course, all
she's,
she has is a hose to breathe. So
yeah,
she wasn't trying to kill her, which is even more messed up.
very dark. Again, this is like, it's just sinister and eerie.
And bring it
Uh,
back to what you were saying about him waking up. So this whole plot happened, you know, partway through season 1 and going on, where um, he has not had any feeling. He's lost all sense of smell, taste. He even like burned his hand and felt nothing. And then the night prior, he's like, "Oh wow, I can taste now." And he wakes up because now he can feel his hand, and it's
mm-hmm.
like it just like the first time. So that wakes him up. And we see though Leanne in the last, this season and before, she has a Bible where she writes everyone's name on a certain passage. And we, with him being nicer to her, we don't know again, did she give him that back? Did she take it away? What's going on? Because she even says to him, the only reason found out because you felt your hand again, didn't you? And he's like, and he doesn't say anything. So
I think it's
really,
connected to Leanne getting hurt. I
I
think
think
there's
so.
something about Leanne being in perfect condition
Yeah.
has a connection to him, and that was probably a force that when she entered the house, he started losing those senses. Now that she's been injured, I think it's like broken the spell, and it's like, oh, now he's getting his stuff back
It
in a
could be,
way.
and of course, this then the final frame of the episode, and this is a big theory that you brought up, is you see Dorothy standing over the crib.
Well, no,
Yeah.
she's in bed,
Yes.
falling into sleep, and she has a certain outfit on. And then they do this really kind of interesting quick rush down the hallway to where the baby room was. And then you see Dorothy, hair up, in red pajamas, looking over the crib. Nothing there, of course. And she looks very distraught and looks over. And then it pans to the clock and it's 2 a.m., which is
La-
usually the time that she would
the lady
attack.
in the red.
So is it split personality, bipolar? Is it another Dorothy? Definitely, you could see that probably is if she's having these maybe like night walking where she would go up and she looks in the bed, the baby's not there, and just maybe that's just the time of night this is happening. But why is this happening? And is something other form going on like that? To me, I was like, well, she just was falling asleep there, but that could have been just a passage of time looking, the way they did on the hallway.
Yeah.
So who knows? This is still early. I mean, we're not even, we still have one more episode to get halfway through season 2. So I feel like the last 2 episodes especially have really started to increase what's going to go on. And just, I'm curious to know how long the show will go for. This is a show that I can't see them doing forever. So I'm
Yeah.
like, is this the second and final season? Is this going to lead to a third and final season? Where is it going to go? I don't know, but I think it's a pretty good program, and it's just fun to see like a kind of short term horror type series. These aren't hour episodes. It's a
No.
nice, usually 30-35 minute length. It's really easy to watch, and
And
it's
it just
entertaining.
it encapsulates everything that M. Night Shyamalan's about, and it's amazing what they can pack in all these themes. There's so many
Mhm.
very strong themes of grief, redemption, addiction, the
Religion,
psychosis of
cult,
the mind, and relationships.
fame,
Yeah, and then
mhm,
we have, this is supernatural, is this
food.
a thriller, horrific, what they can do with food. And again, M. Night Shyamalan has these really great he had really good little videos, these little kind of short little vignettes on Apple TV. So if you are watching the show, check these out. He talks about how they actually had a renowned chef come in to help them make the food look good, because the food, he said, is really dictates like the emotion of the characters, the emotional. And so yeah, I'm getting more and more pumped about the show as the episodes unfold. I hope you guys are excited as we are. And again, please, what are your theories? What are you thinking about this show? What do we know about this cult? Is the end supernatural? We don't know anything. So, we'd love to hear your thoughts about this. And I continue to get on the edge of my seat with every episode every week about this.
Yes. So we can't wait for next Friday, episode 5, which will be the halfway point through season 2. So stay tuned for another review next week. And remember to tune in to the Potential Podcast for all of our audio reviews. And season 2 of our podcast is premiering in March of this year. So stay tuned for a lot more content coming your way, both through the podcast and right here on our YouTube channel.